So I used to be an avid video gamer until very recently, actually, just a couple of years
Really?
back, maybe like 5 years ago. I probably spent more time playing video games than I spent working.
Did it do anything for your mind?
It was fun. Uh, yeah, probably. I mean, I was playing harder and harder games and more intellectual games and strategy games and war games and thinking games, but they're just games. They're meaningless games, right?
What,
And
what, what was your favorite?
there were so many. I mean, mostly war games. I was a deep war game. Magic the Gathering, if you remember that game, you know. So anyway, the specific
Go
game
on.
doesn't matter. The point is, I would just play lots and lots of games, and at some deep level, I knew they were worthless, because you know you're playing this game, and then you get some stupid reward at the end, and then they change the rules of that game, and then the game changes, and like you're reset, or like you forgot your login, or you lost it because you upgraded your computer or your whatever, or they rolled out version 5 against the version 4, and you're starting all over, right? So you know it's worthless. You're just running in a circle, right? And all games are worthless because you die in the end, but at least some are longer lived than others, right? There are games that, like, for example, if I'm playing the wealth creation game, I can make money, which has an actual effect on my remaining life, as opposed to just playing a video game, which has none of that benefit. I'm not taking away from games. Games are useful. They're training for the intellectual athlete, just like sports might be training for war for the physical athlete. That said, I was still playing a lot of games. I knew they were kind of worthless. I was doing it to blow off steam, or just because I don't even need a reason. It was entertaining. Um, but then one day I read a blog post, and you know, truth is that when you see it, you can't unsee it. And this guy, in just the right turn of phrase, he called games a shadow career. He said games are a shadow career. And I was like, oh, that's so good. That is so good. It's like a career that you're building that's fake. You know, it's a shadow. It's just going to disappear. And I was like, and since that moment, I haven't been able to see games as anything other than a waste of time. So I still do play games occasionally. So once in a blue moon, mostly with my kid, I'll pick up a game, I'll play for a little bit. But now I'm thoroughly and completely aware that it is a quote unquote waste of time. And if I'm okay wasting the time, it's fine. But these days, I'm not really okay wasting time.
You still play war games with your kid?
I'm going to pick one or two up. Mostly these days, though, they're on their iPads playing their own games. It's fine.
But what game would you have your kid play? And I ask this from the perspective of, I feel when I was growing up as a teenager, so a few games that really affected my mindset in life. FIFA, like the football game,
yeah.
because it just teaches you something about team play.
Okay.
Age of Empires, obviously,
Yeah.
because you learn strategy. Sim City, because you learn administration.
Yeah.
And Sims, because you learn about self-improvement.
I mean, look, I can argue for many of them. I can argue for the Sims and the Civilization type games. I can argue for board games, war games, strategy games. The reality is, even the few games I play these days, they're just like runners or jumpers or fighters. You know, they don't have any real meaning to them. It's fine. I think one of my tweets or analogies that went more viral than others was like, I really believe that you should live your life like an athlete or like a lion, right? Which means that most of your time you're resting, you're just futzing around, you're lazing around, you're just doing whatever you find entertaining. And then once in a while you get obsessed with something and something is important and you just pour everything into it. So I would rather be recharged and ready for my next intellectual or physical obsession than putting myself on the grinder of I have to wake up at this time, then eat my blueberries, and then do my push-ups, and then and just like live a regimented mechanical life. I want to live a very free life. I don't want a calendar. I don't want to be in a specific place at a specific time. I don't want to have to answer to people. I just want to be free. And I think that's how you do your best work. And especially in an age where we have so much leverage in the system, either through code or media or through other people or through capital, the quality of your decision making dominates everything. Warren Buffett is one of the richest men in the world just because he makes the right decision once a year. And so having a clear mind is way more important than anything else, and this is all an excuse for laziness, which just lets me relax and relax and relax until I need to make that decision. But it's like, even if I look at my, having made money in life, it's happened through a bunch of different sources, but the number one was like way bigger than the number two through n put together. Number two was bigger than three through n put together. Three was bigger than four through n put together. And that's kind of how your entire life works.
What was number one, if you don't mind me
I'm
asking?
not going to get into it, but the compound interest applies in all intellectual and often even in relationship domains. So, for example, your number one relationship in your life, eventually your kids, currently your wife, maybe one of your parents, is going to be more valuable to you than kind of all the rest put together, right? So maybe not so much in relationships, but definitely in learning. Your best ideas are going to be worth more than all the rest. My best tweets, the few best tweets. You're only judging your best work, not your worst. So in that sense, being high output is really good. Current generation may judge you on your average, but the future, what'll happen is, let's say you record, I don't know, how many podcasts have you recorded?
800.
800, great. So, by the time you're done, you'll probably have 2,000 or something for your final, like, okay, I'm bored of this game, right? So let's say you have 2,000 podcasts in your life. What's going to happen is 20 of them are going to be amazing, okay? And those will stand the test of time, and they'll slowly trickle down, trickle down, trickle down. 100 years from now, people will be watching 20 of them. And then 200 years from now, or 300 years from now, they'll be watching one of them, right? So so in all of these intellectual domains, you are only judged by your best work in posterity, which is not to say you can just shortcut to it, but most effort in life in that sense is wasted. But it's both training wheels for the winning one, plus you just never know when or where the right thing is going to emerge. So you kind of just have to keep moving. But the thing I'm not a fan of is wasting time. Wasting time, tedious meetings with tedious people, traveling to places for business where there's you don't actually enjoy it. Anything ceremonial or ritual, meetings, complete waste of time, most meetings. Just save your time, save your energy. Just be happy, enjoy yourself, and be ready for the opportunity, because there's a time when opportunity comes, and if you yourself are rested and ready and you find yourself interested in it, then you have the space in your life and in your mind that you can be sucked into it. And again, without any desire for a specific outcome. Because when you have a desire for a specific outcome, you're moving away from truth seeking, because now you're looking for something. And if that thing turns out not to be true, you're going to try and force it. And we can't help it. We're desiring creatures. You wouldn't even be here on this earth if you weren't a desiring creature, right? You just lie there in the dirt and let worms eat you. So you are a desiring creature, but you just have to be careful with your desires, because they will take you away from your truth. Because true reasoning is unmotivated. It's motivated purely by curiosity. Curiosity just means you want to know the truth. That's all it is. So in that sense, curiosity is the pure motivation. Every other motivation is motivated reasoning and is more likely to lead you to an incorrect answer. And then the worst thing you can do is get through motivated reasoning, get to the falsehood, and then you bake that into your identity. You identify it with yourself. You say, well, because I'm a Hindu or I'm a Christian or I believe this, or because I'm a Republican or a Democrat, I believe this. And then you get locked into that. And now that is a part of your understanding. It's a shaky foundation. And then you start attaching other things to that shaky foundation. Politics is a good example of this. Well, because I believe in women's right for abortion, now I also have to believe that, trans women are men or men are women. And I have to believe that, there's no heritability in certain things, but there is in other things. And I have to believe that capitalism is evil. You start plugging all these things together that don't actually belong together. They're voting coalitions. They're coalitions of voters that have been assembled, single issue voters. But now all of a sudden you have to adopt all of these beliefs. Or in Christian, if I'm Christian, then I have to believe this and this and this. Otherwise, I'm not a true Christian. Or I have to believe this and this Hindu sect. Otherwise, I'm not a true Hindu. All that is nonsense. One of the best lines I heard on this was, Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. So all the people that you admire, all the people that you look up to, they don't strongly self-identify with any movement. Lee Kuan Yew created Singapore, where we're sitting today. He didn't consider himself Singaporean, right? He created that thing. So I think all of us are meant to
where nobody's meant to do anything, but all of us function at our best when we don't identify with anything outside of ourselves.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip from The Ranveer Show, we've uploaded a ton of other clips related to a ton of other topics. So explore the channel, because there's something for everyone.